We allege that as part of that effort, RT and its employees implemented a nearly $10 million scheme to publish and disseminate content deemed favorable to the Russian government. Defendants directed the company to contract with U.S.-based social media influencers.
I am not pro-Putin, I'm not pro-Russia. But do you see what is happening here? We are on the slow march, being cheered on by the entire Democrat Party.
Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats.
The subject matter and content of many of the videos published by the company were often consistent with Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. opposition to core Russian interests.
Come pick some cotton with me.
Take someone that looks like this to a chain restaurant.
Fuck the woman! Fuck the woman! What? No, wait. We love women. We love women. We love women.
But not like transgenders.
Yes, sir. We love everybody. No.
All gays should die.
If I have to,
But it
if
wasn't
I have
just a
to
meme.
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dan.
Okay, real quick, friends, be honest. When was the last time you reacted to a headline before reading the full story? Or an even better question, have you found yourself a little bit more angrier than usual as of late? Basically what I'm getting at is marketing has pretty much cooked the way that we see the world. And as someone who has spent over 10 years working in marketing, I can pretty confidently tell you that once you are able to deconstruct marketing tactics, you are on the path to owning your own mind. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dasia, and I am so glad that you are here. Y'all have been asking for a video about media literacy, so today, let's just yap a little bit about rage content, how to spot it, how to stop being controlled by it, and how to become a free thinker. Repeat after me now, friends. It is 2025. We are media literate. We are mindful and aware. We consume content consciously. We are awake, and we will not be slaves to rage bait content or the algorithm. What is rage content? Rage content is content that has been created for the purpose of rage farming or rage baiting. These are manipulative tactics used to provoke outrage, but also increase internet traffic. You're able to see its promotion through headlines, through memes, through statements that encourage the audience to respond or seek out even more inflammatory information. It's often used as a financial strategy to drive revenue, okay, and attract followers or subscribers or support. A lot of times the content is designed specifically to annoy or provoke individuals. Things like white privilege cards.
Now you may be asking, what is the purpose of a white privilege card? I co-created the white privilege card to make fun of this idea of white privilege and to fight against critical race theory.
Why would you even? Or they want to lead to expressions of rage or threats of violence.
Fuck the woman! Fuck the woman! What? No, wait. We love women. We love women. We love women.
But not like transgenders.
Yes, sir. We love everybody. No.
All gays should die.
It's also divisive or upsetting content that triggers emotional responses, another form of rage content commonly found on socials. So think about anything that pits one side versus the other, Israel versus Palestine content, the gender wars, anything that creates a versus mentality.
You can separate, but you can't actually divorce. That's not a real thing.
Even though it might be like physically abusive.
You gotta endure. People are too...
You want to stick in the relationship.
People are just... people nowadays are just...
All of this content can lead you to wondering why your feed the past few years seems to be filled with one side shouting at the other side. And it's at a much higher rate than you see communal or positive posts. Well, it's because anger has been found to be the most common way that people engage with content. The algorithms on socials understand this and simply don't care if the message is uplifting or if it's toxic. Your attention is all that is wanted. Welcome to the attention economy. As long as people are giving their attention and interacting with the content, platforms will spread it even further. Researchers have found that people are far more likely to share content that disgusts us or makes us feel wronged than we are to share content that allows us to share emotions like joy or even grief or sadness. That means that we are often alone or quiet in experiencing full spectrum of human emotions. That means we're laughing alone, we are experiencing sadness and grieving alone, We are experiencing joy alone, but we are the loudest in our anger and in our disgust. In those things, we are united.
Angry is good.
There's a lot of things that clued me into rage being a powerful motivator, but probably nothing more so than this past election when I worked as a poll worker and the sheer volume of people who came in and were angry and voted out of anger, voted out of, oh, you know, Biden said this about us and that's why we need to stick together. Or the amount of people who asked me how many illegal immigrants we had to turn away or how many illegal immigrants had come and tried to steal votes really clued me into how much of a motivator anger is. They were united in their anger about their perceived wrongs. And for a lot of people, it was that and that alone that got them out of their houses to vote. So if you've noticed more aggression overall on your feed, know that it is because you as an individual and we as a collective are sending messages to the algorithm and to those specific creators who are incentivized to make that type of content. We are telling them that we want to see more of it. But why do we want to see more of it? Well, the psychology behind gravitating towards rage content can be attributed to some of us enjoy the drama.
Hey girl, I just want to let you girls know that I'm a real messy. I'm a messy who lives for drama.
This is where radical honesty with ourselves is going to be most important. Sometimes we come from households that were tumultuous or stressful, and so the drama is something that is actually familiar. Or we're distracting ourselves from focusing on something that's truly important in our own lives. I personally have noticed a trend in my own life and in my content where if I was anxious or avoiding doing something difficult, I would get real doom scroll heavy. It didn't take long before I'd fall down the rabbit hole of responding to negative comments. And I also noticed that whenever that would happen, instead of creating content like this that aims to, and at least I hope it comes across this way, it aims to put actual thoughts or encourages critical thinking out into the world, I would be spending more time reacting or creating reactionary content. I'd be responding to rage baiting comments, things like skate back to Africa as a way to avoid my own work. Like, that's a non-starter. Like, what are you gonna do with that?
You back from your clapback coma?
But I was able to see this trend in my own life that when I stopped trying to distract myself, the desire to respond negatively or even consume rage content completely disappears. Poof. The rise of reality TV and celebrity worship has also further caused a disconnect with the way that we see the world. Now more than ever, we've become addicted to the spectacle of life. We're shunning everyday reality as boring. We love a scandal. We love a side to pick. We love an underdog story. We love a slogan to rally behind. In this way, we in modern reality are no different than the Romans in the Colosseum. Another reason is simply we're addicted to it. A lot of times we don't even realize that we are addicted to rage. But chances are, if you live in America, you have fallen victim to rage content and propaganda, especially because it props up our news and our election cycles. From a brain chemistry standpoint, some of us actually gain pleasure from being angry or from witnessing aggression.
A smaller dose taken into the bloodstream inhibits all the functions of the body by its action on the brain and the central nervous system.
So yes, you can be addicted to anger, but more specifically, the chemicals that are released, the surges of adrenaline in conjunction with increases in your blood pressure and your heart rate mimic euphoria. Pent-up emotions, once they're released, can flood the body with the pleasure chemical dopamine. This release can bring satisfaction, and that creates a link in your brain between being angry and experiencing pleasure. This physiological link is why anger addiction can be just as addictive as other things like alcohol, drugs, gambling. I'm sure that you can think of someone you know right now who always seems like they are looking for reasons to get offended or reasons to be upset, or they enjoy debating or making arguments. Even when someone is just talking or not even trying to argue, they always seem to be having multiple dramatic fights or blowouts with people, or just going out of their way to be difficult.
Show me the badge.
You see right there?
No, you show it to me.
No.
Take it out and show it to me.
I didn't know why.
Now. What's your disability? Prove it.
It's none of your business.
Prove it to me.
Secondly, research has shown that those who have a threatened self-esteem is linked to increased aggressive behaviors. When individuals feel their self-worth is at risk, they lean towards engaging in behaviors that express their anger and assert their dominance, which, can manifest as a preference for rage content, for silos, a preference for echo chambers.
I am 100%
behind Q. He's working for the president, he's working for our country.
Is all rage bad? Well, anger itself is not bad. Oftentimes, anger is our indicator that something should be paid attention to. Anger itself can be an emotionally charged state that entices individuals into action.
Angry gets shit done.
However, just the way that bees are naturally drawn to nectar and pollen to sustain their colony, anger can act as a natural motivator that pushes people to take action and create meaningful, impactful change in the world. When does outrage become a problem? The presence of outrage in media can be seen through multiple studies and surveys. According to a study conducted by researchers at New York University, content with moral or emotional wording receives a 20% boost in social media engagement. Outrage culture and rage content can significantly impact public discourse and the spread of misinformation and disinformation. These phenomena thrive on strong emotional reactions, which can often overshadow rational debate and fact-checking. When people are outraged, they are more likely to share content impulsively. And not only do they do it impulsively, they do it quickly, which can spread misinformation rapidly like a virus. In a study that was analyzing political media in the United States, it was found that in 90% of all of the content that was analyzed included outrage journalism. And that's where media outlets and social platforms deliberately produced or promoted divisive content to generate engagement.
If you go back to the rallies, let me ask you a question. Did you put the rallies on because they were of news value or because they were driving ratings?
Well, it may not be good for America, but it's damn good for CBS. That's all I gotta say.
For example, a media outlet might present news with a sensational headline or a controversial take, simplify or remove the nuances of the story. And they do this to provoke reactions. They might show you security footage of a black person looting, but fail to report on white-collar crime with the same enthusiasm.
I don't think we show black and Hispanic people as being criminals. I'd like to say not more often, but probably they are more often. But I certainly don't think we're certainly not trying to demonize black and Hispanic people.
We show them on the news, we show them on TV as pretty scary people.
Yeah. And I agree. I think I'd like to see that reversed as much as possible.
Start tonight.
Well, the thing is, I don't know how to start tonight. I don't know how to tell that story. I can find a police outfit that would prosecute corporate criminals appropriately and would go after them appropriately. In other words, what you do to a man who's just stolen a lady's purse with $85 to it, then you need to do an appropriate response to a man who's just stolen $85 million from indigent people. Then, boy, we're going to be out there filming that. But as a matter of fact, when police go after the guy who's just stolen $85 million, they treat him like he was a member of the city council, as he may or may not be. And it's not exciting television.
On the same token, social media platforms might algorithmically favor that content that elicits very strong emotional responses, leading to a cycle where the most extreme viewpoints are the ones that get the most visibility.
When the Airspring happened, I know that a lot of people in Silicon Valley thought our technologies helped bring freedom to people, which was true. But there's a twist to this, which is Facebook's newsfeed algorithm.
If you increase the tone of your posts against your opponents, you're going to get more distribution. So more people end up seeing it because the algorithm is going to say, oh, okay, that's engaging content. People like it. Show it to more people.
There were also other groups of thugs who followed the pattern of sectarian violence.
The hardest part for me was seeing the tool that brought us together, tearing us apart. These tools are just enablers for whomever. They don't separate between what's good and bad. They just look at engagement metrics.
Recently, with the California wildfires, there was images of a black man who was helping his family move some of their belongings, and certain media outlets portrayed it as black people looting. And so you have to be able to sit back and wonder, like, what is the purpose? Why is this being done? Misinformation within these chambers can spread unchallenged because it aligns with what a lot, I won't say most, but what I will say is a lot of people want to believe because, well, that sounds true to me, even if it's factually incorrect. Just because something sounds true doesn't mean that it is true. The amplification of this type of content creates echo chambers where only like-minded people or like-minded opinions are heard, reinforcing the bias and contributing to polarization and radicalization, something that we see play out time and time again in America.
Before the shooting rampage that left 10 dead, the 18-year-old gunman posted an online screed claiming white people in America were being replaced by people of color.
Anger alone as an emotion is not good or bad. It just is. It's our relationship and how we use anger that can become problematic. To anyone who's paying attention, it's very easy to see that we have become a troll nation, where our politicians care more about being famous for having their moment, so much so they end up behaving like, Vince McMahon in wrestling matches, giving the people a show, pushing one-liners and slinging crude slogans.
Donald Trump?
The people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
We rally behind people who make us feel a certain way rather than those who have the qualifications, because qualifications are boring.
If I have to,
But it wasn't just a meme.
Create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dan.
We have begun to look at everything like a reality TV show stage.
From NBC News, Decision 2020, the Democratic candidates debate. Tonight, round 2.
And that's scary because when you take a step back, you realize that the celebrity worship culture has kind of set the stage for everyone to try and be the main character by demonstrating their ability to, quote unquote, own somebody. Like, gonna own them, even at the price of democracy.
This inaugural was also a public humiliation ritual for the worst people. He took the architects of America's decades of decline and told them to their faces that their project is finished forever.
I think it's important to think of rage content as the gasoline that fuels the inferno. And it works really, really well to make sure that people are less trusting of each other. And it's not by accident, okay? This type of environment can and has been exploited by those who are looking to sow division for political or financial gain.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
The constant back and forth is destroying our mental health. A 2021 study found that 66% of social media users feel worn out by the amount of political content they encounter. Being constantly exposed to outrageous or rage-inducing content can make you feel stressed out. It can make you feel depressed. It can make you feel anxious. It's like having a constantly activated immune system. Not only does it weaken your mental defenses, but it also increases how susceptible you are to being controlled.
And that is the secret of happiness and virtue, liking what you have got to do. All conditioning aims at that, making people like their unescapable social destiny.
So Brave New World and 1984 are two of my favorite dystopian novels because they actually warn us about governments controlling us with technology and twisting language. In Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, society is controlled not by surveillance or punishment, but by distraction and gratification.
No temptations, no inconveniences. But I like the inconvenience. We don't.
The happiness drug Soma is used to keep the population happy by dulling their emotions and promoting conformity, preventing them from ever questioning anything. Similarly, today's media often acts as a form of Soma. You have endless streams of entertainment and news that are designed to create a passive audience. We are consuming content without questioning its validity or the intentions behind it. In George Orwell's 1984, the state exerts control by altering language itself, introducing Newspeak, a controlled language created to get rid of the freedom of personal thought and expression.
The three slogans on the white face of the Ministry of Truth came back at him. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength.
So think about like anti-woke rhetoric or how they completely changed the meaning of DEI.
Critical race theory has actually now infiltrated our criminal justice system. Just this week, I released a story that the FBI is now holding weekly seminars on intersectionality which is a hard left academic theory that reduces people to a network of racial, gender, and sexual orientation identities.
Now, the funny thing is that even though Rufo set in motion the rage-filled delirium over critical race theory that would eventually entirely envelop our political discourse and advise hundreds of leaders throughout the country on the issue, Rufo had only recently learned of the term himself by reviewing the footnotes of popular anti-racism books by Robin DiAngelo and Ibram X. Kendi. Far from being an investigative reporter, the truth is that Rufo is a right-wing reactionary activist with an explicit agenda, and Rufo himself has not shied away from stating this agenda explicitly, tweeting, "We have successfully frozen their brand, critical race theory, into the public conversation and are steadily driving up negative perceptions. We will eventually turn it toxic as we put all of the various cultural insanities under that brand category. The goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory. We have decodified the term and will recodify it to annex the entire range of cultural constructions that are unpopular with Americans."
Literally anti-woke means that you are unaware. You are literally unconscious to the world. That's actually frightening to me. I feel like that should be more frightening to people, like striving to be unconscious. Today's parallel can be seen in the simplified and emotionally charged language of clickbait titles and political slogans. So think of things like DEI hire or just changing the meaning of the word woke.
We're seeing a sweeping dismantling of diversity and inclusion programs in federal government. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI employees, will be put on paid leave at 5 p.m. today. Any DEI-related web pages by the Office of Personnel Management will be taken down as well. President Trump signed a new executive order called Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity. This could mean overturning anti-bias training to things like funding for minority farmers and homeowners. Trump calling all of this discrimination and insisting on only merit-based hiring.
Or this consistent push that I'm seeing, and I get it, I totally understand, but I truly don't believe the answer to solving America's poor literacy rates is for everyone to be talking at a 6th grade level. And I know that that removes a lot of opportunity for engagement. I think that there should be educators at every level so that, the people who aren't at the 6th grade level are able to engage with content that is at their specific level. But there's been this huge push, especially on the marketing side, that hey, your content needs to be targeted at a 5th grader. And it's yeah, but these are not everyone is a 5th grader. And yes, it forces us to have conversations around accessibility, but also we need to get these literacy rates up. Okay? We can't just be using, emotionally charged language to get things done all the time. Mainly because it doesn't, require any critical thinking. Not only that, but these things often succeed at provoking an immediate emotional response and shaping perceptions, rather than informing the population or even just asking them to question the things they're being told. These tactics reduce complex issues to the binary, black and white choices, discouraging nuanced understanding, discouraging context, discouraging empathy, while promoting a polarized society that is easily controlled like puppets on a string. When I think about the arguments that are happening right now against DEI, and I see things people are saying where they're well, all roles should be based on merit versus the color of your skin, there should be no quotas or anything like that, which is crazy to me because DEI was an affirmative action. At the org that I worked at that had DEI initiatives, they did things to make sure that everyone had the resources that they need. They made sure that mothers had mothering rooms where they could breastfeed, while they were at work. They had support groups for veterans who might be struggling transitioning back into civilian life. Those were DEI initiatives. But if you can, push someone into thinking that someone is getting something over you, you can create this level of victimhood and grievances, then get them to do what you want them to do instead of actually paying attention and saying, well, it would make sense if you're telling new mothers that they need to get back to work, that you would have something like a mothering room to support that or to facilitate that. You have people speaking out against things because they're being told that this is what something is, and they've never actually engaged with it or look it up on their own. And I cannot stress enough how dangerous that is. Both of these books foresaw the potential for technology and language to not only misinform, but to shape and control thought. They highlight the importance of maintaining critical thinking and awareness in the face of media that can often be more concerned with influence and control than with the truth. Waking up to the truth. recognizing rage content, misinformation, and disinformation. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 self-assessment questions to gauge your awareness of falling victim to these types of content. Okay, you have to answer them real quick. Be honest. Question number 1. Have you ever found yourself getting into arguments online based on information you have not fully verified? And has it ever affected your mood offline? Guilty. Okay. Next question. Can you recall a situation where you later discovered that an article or post that you reacted to or shared was actually misleading or taken out of context? 100%. One that really comes to mind back when the internet was very deep in the relationship, gender wars conversation. I too fell victim to the lady who didn't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory.
This is the Cheesecake Factory, y'all.
What's the problem with that?
This is a chain restaurant.
If you haven't seen it, you're not missing much, but there's this woman who's an hour late to her own date and is rude to the person who was trying to take her on a date because she refused to be seen at Cheesecake Factory.
Who takes someone that looks like this to a chain restaurant?
I even made my own little reactionary snapback about it. Okay? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Only to find out that, it was rage bait just to promote her podcast.
The purpose was to spark discussion, to foster learning and growth, right? Tune in to Kevin Wesley's platform.
There's so many examples of this. Next question. Do I regularly expose myself to a variety of news sources, including those that challenge my existing opinions, to avoid being in an echo chamber? We all have our favorite go-to sources, but we are also all human, which means that no one gets it right 100% of the time. If we're all getting all of our information from one source, then there's a very high likelihood that when they get it wrong, you're going to get it wrong too. And what makes matters worse is if they aren't the type to correct their sources or post corrections with new updated information, then you very much, most likely, are still moving off of their bad intel. Next question. Do you notice physical signs of agitation, like an increased heart rate or feeling upset whenever you're reading certain headlines or social media posts? And do you let those signs guide your engagement with the content? Like, do you get to the point where you're like, I have to respond to this. This one is tricky, especially if you're not used to paying attention to your body. But chances are, if you've ever said the sentence like, I was watching this video today and I was just so annoyed, I was so angry, or I was just so disturbed, you have probably had a physiological response to content. Next question, do you notice a pattern in the types of headlines or the types of stories that tend to bring about strong emotions within you? Are they often from the same sources, or are they related to specific topics? If you answered yes to any of these questions, do not worry, okay? Welcome to the club of people who have been influenced by social media content. The first step to deconstruction is actually becoming aware of what you're consuming in your media diet on a day-to-day basis and getting clear on your current level of media literacy. Becoming a free thinker. Media literacy is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act using all forms of communication. With media literacy, we learn how to critically understand the different types of media messages that we hear and see every day. So things like news, advertisements. Movies are a good one. I could point out some like really crazy movie messaging or like media messaging that you're probably unaware of in a lot of like our films. Like there's so many underlying messages that if you're just engaging with something on a surface level, you're probably not even clocking. But also with social media posts, it's about being able to ask questions about what you watch or what you read, and then figuring out, who's behind that information, what their purpose with the content is, and then how they want their audience to react. It's also about understanding how media can influence behaviors and belief systems. Being able to grow these kind of skills in our society helps people become more informed consumers of media, as well as become responsible producers of information and creative content. And America is so far behind. America has like a huge opportunity with this. Probably the most important necessary step to becoming a free thinker is 100% improving your media literacy. In America, a recent study has showed that only about 4 out of 10 participants were taught to analyze science and news stories for bias and credibility in high school. 4 out of 10. In a world now where we have to be truly conscious of media that is being created by AI. These things can mimic someone's voice, they can mimic their facial movements. It's truly more important than ever for Americans to be aware. When we actually sit back and think about the content that we're consuming, we want to be able to choose actively instead of just being blindly influenced by it. Recently, conservative influencers were found to be spreading misinformation paid for by Russia. Like, not enough people are talking about how crazy that is.
I am not pro-Putin, I'm not pro-Russia. But do you see what is happening here? We are on the slow march, being cheered on by the entire Democrat Party.
Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia.
These people claim to be victims, but as someone who creates and fully understands my responsibility as a creator and has turned down so much sponsored content many times before, once I did a deep dive into the information that was being asked of me to share to y'all, pardon my French, but they are full of shit, okay? They are not victims. Stop letting people play you out with this I didn't know stuff. They knew.
We should apologize to Russia.
3 of the most impactful tactics for media literacy are, number 1, source verification. Before sharing a news article, check if it's from a reputable source, like a .gov or a .edu domain. You still want to confirm the credibility of the sources inside the domain. You want to avoid sharing articles from obscure websites with questionable credibility. Another tool that I really like are going to be browser extensions. So you have things like NewsGuard, Media Bias Fact Check. Number 2 is going to be diverse perspectives. Okay, if you're interested in a political topic, read articles from both conservative and liberal news outlets to understand the different viewpoints. If you're unsure where a certain article stands, you can always simply ask AI tools like ChatGPT to tell you, hey, what is the political bias of this article? And it should be able to let you know relatively quickly. You can also use media bias and fact-checking websites to help you break out of the echo chamber groupthink. Some of my favorite media bias fact-checking websites, mediabiasfactcheck.com, allsides.com. And then finally, another one that I really enjoy, I probably use this one the most, is going to be Ground News, which for the most part does a solid job of telling you the direction an article leans and if that article might be a blind spot for a certain end of the political spectrum. So, hey, this end of the political spectrum, they're not highlighting this. It's also fascinating for me to see how the various news outlets all report on the same topic, or if they even report on it at all. Here's where you start to truly pay attention to language that is used. The third tool is going to be fact checking. Suppose that you come across a sensational claim on social media. I actually saw an ad that was like a Joe Rogan subsidy ad on YouTube.
The government's not messing around. Anyone who's under 65 can now scoop up this $6,400 subsidy for basic needs. It's bananas.
You want to use fact checking websites like Snopes or PolitiFact to verify the accuracy of the information before sharing it. And I know like sharing is so quick and easy, but like, don't do that. You want to be confident in the information that you are sharing. Next is going to be asking questions. What is the purpose of the content? Does this feed into any stereotypes or bias that I have? First, you have to be even aware that you have bias, but does this feed into any stereotypes? And then finally, is it verifiable truth? There's actually a National Association of Media Literacy Education. Use their tools. I also created a simple 5-day challenge to kind of kickstart your journey of gaining skills for evaluating the credibility of sources, of recognizing bias, emotional manipulation, and just understanding the importance of pausing and fact-checking in today's digital world. The goal is that by the end of the week, you will be looking at content with a much more mindful eye instead of becoming a puppet with strings that are pulled by our emotions. We don't want no puppeteering here. If you've been here for a while, you probably know by now, but I'm a huge fan of running experiments on my life. So I would be remiss if I didn't offer you a way to put what I have been telling you so far into practice. Just run a 5-day experiment on your life to increase your media literacy and actively engage with media instead of just dipping into passive consumption. Okay, do you remember our commitment earlier? We will not be slaves. Okay, day 1, digital detox and mindful media. Plan your phone and news checks. Instead of just rolling out of bed and, eating squirrel for breakfast, plan ahead the night before. Decide on 3 times the next day that you're going to check your phone. Like, I'll check it in the morning, I'll check it at noon, and I'll check it at night. And then for an added challenge, don't take your phone to bed at all, okay? This is also a really easy way to get clued into if you're addicted to social media or like reading the news or not. Really, really solid way to figure that out. Go for a half-hour stroll without your phone, okay? Notice the little things around you, the chirps of the birds, the shape of the clouds, the feel of the breeze. Pay attention, clock those things. And at the end of the day, for your evening thoughts in a journal or come back to this comment section, I want you to capture how your day felt different without the digital buzz constantly pulling at you. Were you tempted to check your phone every 5 seconds? How did it feel to resist that urge? Did you break? If you did, okay, whatever, we're trying. What were you feeling when you felt tempted? Or how did you feel after you broke? Were you feeling anxiety? Were you feeling boredom? Were you feeling nervousness? Write it down. Be aware of what pulls you to scrolling. And so the purpose of day one, or the idea of day one, is to just break the autopilot of constant screen checking, okay? And just get clued into the world around you and the thoughts within you. On day two, expand your horizons, okay? Mix it up a little bit. Start your day with a news source from a different cultural or political background than yours. Maybe it's a news outlet from a different country or a podcast on a new topic. Another shout out to Ground News. It can be great for this because it actually links to various articles reporting on the same story. Like they make it very, very easy for you to get different perspectives all at once. On your thoughtful walk today, think of those new viewpoints that you encountered from this morning switch up. What surprised you? What challenged you? I hate the word triggered because if something prompts additional questions in your brain, it shouldn't be seen as a negative, okay? Thinking is good. Critically engaging with information you're receiving is good, okay? Truth seeking. Fact check an interesting claim from this news source. What did you discover? For your evening chat, again, come back to this comment section or have a heart-to-heart with someone or journal about your media adventure today. Share. What did you learn? How did it make you feel? The purpose of day two is about getting comfortable with the unfamiliar and learning to navigate through different narratives with curiosity and an open mind. On your day three, you're going to be embracing different angles. 3 sides to every story. Pick a topic and explore it from 3 different outlets that don't usually align with each other. Again, Ground News is going to be great for this. Around lunchtime or on your walk, mull over each story and how it was told. What stood out to you? What was missing from one article and present in another? What was the tone? Was it informative? Was it emotional? Was it persuasive? And then question everything. Write down your burning questions about the story. Is there a clear bias? Is something being assumed? Is there any nuance, or is everything cut and dry, neatly packed into an easily consumable passive package? And then that evening, look up that same topic on an online discussion and contribute your 2 cents. So Reddit will probably be a good thing for this. What do you think? The purpose of day 3 is about sharpening your mind to look beyond the headlines and dig into the meat of the story, appreciating the complexity, appreciating the different truths. Day 4, clearing out the clutter. Spot the noise. Here, we're going to keep an eye out for posts that stir up more heat than light. Emotional check. When you spot a potential rage bait, pause and ask yourself, what is this post really trying to do? Is it informative or is it just inflammatory? Are they providing solutions or are they just farming my rage for money? Choose to declutter. Hit unfollow on at least 3 news sources that are leaving you feeling more angry than enlightened. Shout out to the Shade Room. And then for your nighttime reflection, again, either come back to this comment section or jot it down in a journal how you feel about the cleanse. Do you feel lighter? Do you feel more in control? The purpose of day 4 is about curating a media feed that enriches your life, not one that leaves you feeling drained out or riled up. Finally, day 5 is going to be building a wholesome feed, finding the good stuff. Here, you're going to look for 3 news sources that are known for their depth and for their fairness. Think about sources that give you the whole story, not just the flashy headline. If you read the article, does it expand? Does it cite sources? Or does it simply give you surface level information? Do your homework. Look into the history of these sources. What makes them reliable? What do other people say about them? Welcome aboard. Add these sources to your daily mix. Notice how they make you think, not just how they make you feel. Spread the word. Tell your friends or your colleagues about the gems that you found. Why did you pick them? How do they make a difference? The purpose of day 5 is about feeding your mind with nutritious content that helps you grow, that helps you stay informed, that helps you connect with the world in meaningful ways. And alas, my friends, we have reached the end. I think it's important to remember something crucial. We are not just a flock following the herd. Our likes, our shares, our comments, They are powerful. They shape the online world. They make it into a vivid picture of what we're talking about, what we're thinking, what we're feeling together. The decisions we make about what to let into our feeds really, truly, they do matter. Additionally, capitalism is such that it has inadvertently turned our attention into a form of currency, not only to make money off of you, but to keep you distracted. You've probably noticed a lot of the same conversations keep getting had over and over. The gender wars, circular arguments like 50-50, interracial relationships, high dating, high value man, manosphere, red pill takes. All of these conversations demonstrate the illusion of thought. And this illusion of thought gives us the illusion of progress. The best thing that you can do when you see content that is meant to anger you or misinform you or presents it in a very one-off black and white way is to divert your attention. Put your money where your eyes are and remove your attention from media, from creators and news sources that you recognize are taking the cheap route of pushing rage. I am you, you are me. It's a reminder that we are all in this digital dance together. Okay? Your choices affect me and my choices affect you. Social media isn't just some static tool out here. It's a living, breathing space where our collective minds and hearts are on display. Every action that we take, from likes to shares to comments, influences the collective consciousness of our digital community. Okay? It should be a reminder that our choices on social media collectively shape the narrative that we're a part of. Your time is much better spent, uplifting good ideas than tearing down bad ones. Don't waste your time explaining why bad ideas are bad. You're just going to be fanning the flame of ignorance and stupidity. And it's so imperative that we feed the good ideas. We fan the good ideas, we uplift the good ideas, we share and we grow the good ideas, and then we starve the bad ones. Social media serves as a mirror reflecting not just our personal interests, but our shared cultural values and concerns. The content that we encounter on a daily basis speaks volumes about our society as a whole. So every time we pause before reacting to a sensational post, or when we decide to follow a source that actually digs into the truth, we're not just tidying up our own little corner of the internet. We are casting a vote for the kind of online neighborhood that we want to hang out in, that we want to be a part of. One that's about real talk and real conversations and much less about noise. And, if I might say so myself, that's a pretty awesome responsibility and power to have, isn't it? All right, my friends, that's all that I have got for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear them. And again, if you need a spot to share your daily challenge findings, put them down there. Also, I would love to see them. And I will see y'all in the next one.